It was like a cone of light. I heard the words, peace, happiness, love, joy and eternity, while I was in orbit around this great, really huge cone of light. I remember that those 5 words as a whole became the only important thing in the universe for me, and I had to get rid of everything else in order to enter into the light. Welcome to Let's Lift the Veil. One night changed everything. A fatal crash on a remote road, a light of infinite love, revelations about the universe and Earth's future. This is the powerful story of a near-death experience. Like, comment, share and subscribe now to never miss the next testimonies that lift the veil on what lies beyond life. Things started to happen a couple of months before the accident. I was able to see dead people and hear voices, just as I would go to bed and relax, but not asleep yet. On September 3, 1990, at 3:15 a.m. local time, we were driving far from any town, about 25 miles south of Chicoutimi, coming back from Quebec City, and my friend was driving my car. At a certain point, she lost control of it, and we got involved in a head-on collision with another vehicle. At that moment, I was projected from my body right away and was looking at my friend and my body inside the car. I noticed there was a little fire in the engine area, but nothing too severe at the time. Both of us were not moving and appeared to be dead. She, her spirit, wasn't around me except for her body. I remember wanting to tell my parents and friends about the accident at that moment, and that my life was over. I wanted to say goodbye. Immediately, I was in front of them. It was now daytime and another day too. I noticed I could travel into time, and my friends and parents were not able to see nor hear me. From that point, I thought there was something else waiting for me instead of visiting the living as I was dead. I just let myself go, and in my case there was no tunnel, as I remember from reading some near-death experience stories in the past. I was even waiting for a tunnel, but none. I went into a dark place with nothing around me, but I wasn't scared. It was really peaceful there. I then began to see my whole life unfolding before me as if a film being projected on a screen, from babyhood to adult life. It was so real. I was looking at myself, but better than a 3D movie, as I was also capable of sensing the feelings of the persons I had interacted with through the years. I could feel the good and bad emotions I made them go through. I was also capable of seeing that the better I made them feel and the better the emotions they had because of me would give me some credits like karma points, and that the bad ones would take some of it back, just like in a bank account, but here it was like a karma account to my knowledge. The more points of karma I got would give me permission to access a better area or a better place somewhere. It was the knowledge I had then. At the end of the film of what I would call my life presentation, everything went black for a while, almost like in a real movie before they turn on the light. I then understood through this knowledge that I deserved a place in what we call heaven without knowing what it would be like or what it is. I felt a wonderful feeling of peace, which became stronger and stronger. It was such a nice feeling. In the darkness, I began to see a light in the distance ahead of me. I was attracted to it, but I remember thinking that I could also go away from it or even go back. No way, I said to myself, so I came closer and closer to it, and the feeling of great peace became so strong and so good. In real life, I am the type of person who likes to go into details to see how things work. So I didn't want to go too fast and wanted to understand what was going on here. I then got into orbit around the light. That's the best terms to describe it. It was like a cone of light. I heard the words, peace, happiness, love, joy and eternity, while I was in orbit around this great, really huge cone of light. I remember that those 5 words as a whole became the only important thing in the universe for me, and I had to get rid of everything else in order to enter into the light. The feeling of peace was replaced with a feeling of love. I remembered that something was preventing me from entering the light at that moment, and after having analyzed it, I realized that it was grudges I kept towards a few people. I had to forgive them in order to purify myself from all negative thoughts I could have had toward them. Now that I had the permission to enter the light, I could almost touch it. I wanted to enter it, but I was holding back in order to see more details before actually entering the light. I also remember that I was at the bottom of the light cone, and after a certain time, I let myself go and bang. Just like an explosion of love. The feeling I had before getting into the light was great, but still a feeling I could explain with human words. But inside the light, no way. No words can explain that feeling, except I thought I would die because these feelings of love were so strong. I was amazed I could still think like I did on Earth, and at that point I started to laugh as I thought, how can I die as I am already dead? So bring on all the love you can, I said, because I knew the light or intelligence in it could understand me. I thought at that point there was nothing better, and it might be dangerous to increase the love sensation, as it was already far better and stronger than any expectation of heaven I ever had. As I mentioned, yes, more love please. The sensation of great love grew even stronger, and I noticed there were different levels in the light. I've noticed at that point I had the complete knowledge of the universe available to me, and I simply had to ask to know. I asked questions about life beyond Earth, about higher and lower worlds. I asked if I could see what it looks like on a planet with a higher evolution, and then finding myself visiting a more advanced planet, with smaller, hairless beings in seamless suits, communicating telepathically, feeding directly on cosmic energy, and traveling by gravity generators. They were astonished that someone from such a primitive world had reached them. I remember that physically speaking they were shorter than us and walked slowly compared to us. They didn't have any hair, and they had a strange uniform, which molded to their skin as if it were part of it. It was hard to tell where it began and ended. They told me, we might go to see your planet sometime in a near future, but it is very far from here. I said, no problem, but be careful. I said goodbye, and thanked them for the information they gave me. I went away from them and took the time to look at the stars. It was nothing like on Earth, and there wasn't any moon either, but the sky was beautiful with lots of stars. After looking at the stars from that planet, I decided to go back to my origin and the origin of everything, the light. What a fantastic trip, I thought. When I think about humans having a hard time to reach the moon and back, to me now going to the moon was as simple as crossing the street, and going to a planet about 100 light years away was as simple as going to the next village. I also saw a primitive world as I also asked to visit one. There were some primitive cave men full of hair, chasing some strange big animals. I tried to communicate with them, but with no results. They couldn't see me nor hear me. It wasn't too interesting there, so I've decided to go back to the light. Back into the light. I asked for Earth's future, then visions of Earth's future appeared. I saw something really big coming, like a comet or an asteroid, and humans were still here on Earth at the time. There was total panic on Earth. Scientists will know it's the end of all life on this planet because of that, and they will not be able to see it long enough in advance to avoid it. But before that, I took some time to look here and there in the nearest future. I wasn't able to bring back exact years nor time, as it could affect what should happen for our own evolution. I know as I told my story to some people after 1990, the year of the accident, that there will be many conflicts involving the United States, and I remember that it will start right in New York City in a few years from the year 1990. I had no information that it would be the World Trade Center and what year exactly, but I was sure it was New York City, and that all the people of Earth would be aware of what would happen, and it's now part of the past. After that, The East Coast mainly will be affected. There was a major city in a north-central state that would be affected, and almost nothing to the West Coast would be affected. Because of that, as I am sure of it, I'll never move to a major city on the East Coast, even if some company were to entice me with a very good six-figure salary to begin with. I remember, I had all the dates and exact times of every event in each city, but couldn't bring those memories of those dates back with me. Seeing the end of the conflict was even more frightening. Because of the conflict with different countries and less investment in space research, no one can see something happening and approaching Earth, some small asteroid, but big enough to cause substantial damage on Earth. And because of that, all nations will stop all their conflicts and try to work together instead of fighting each other. But it will be too late to avoid what could have been avoided. Starting from that point, the different nations will realize the stupidity of war and will work together for many years to come. There will be finally peace on Earth, but millions of lives lost which could have been avoided. I know this is not too far away in time. I went to a higher level in the light. It was so wonderful. There was so much love. This is higher than the level of knowledge. This was the level of creation, as I call it, and everything became possible, like creating physical things and sharing the creation level with God. Yes, I know, it's hard to believe. I didn't want to come back here on Earth, because I had come from a place of infinite love and beauty, but, nonetheless, I had underestimated the infinite power of the light, and at that instant, I formulated a wish that I'd like to return to Earth, in order to share this knowledge with as many people as possible. But what I didn't know was that a wish formulated at this level in the light becomes reality. Upon formulating this wish, I saw myself pulled toward the bottom of the light cone, and I slowly found myself outside of it. I suddenly realized I could see my body once more. It's then that I saw my friend. She was coming toward me and the light behind me. She was dressed completely in white, like a bride, not walking, but as though floating. I had the impression that I was on my friend's path, as she was slowly moving toward me. I was going to bump into her and instinctively raise my arms to prevent this. She did the same. As we came closer together, our hands touched, and I was astonished at the flashes and sparks of light emanating from them. As the members of our bodies fused together, it's when our brains fused that we could read each other's thoughts perfectly without any possibility of error. This was despite the tremendous speed at which this took place. It's here that I made her realize that we're not using speech but telepathy and want to make a test. I wanted to see if at this point we can still use speech. I began to talk and realized that I was using her expressions and vocabulary while conversing, but that this was taking way too long, and we returned to our new way of communication. It was so much faster and with feelings also. She was explaining to me that she would be staying in the light and that her time on Earth was over. She knew that I, however, was returning to Earth and would never forget this experience, as it was so much better than what we had known physically. The feelings of love were growing weaker and weaker, and I could now see the wider scope of everything on Earth: the wars, greed, the anger, racism, the pain. As I was getting closer and closer, and I was very much saddened by it all. Suddenly I was back in the car, flames leaping all around. I turned and saw my friend's body and knew beyond doubt that she no longer inhabited it. The light gave me just enough time to exit the vehicle before the flames would reach me. An autopsy was performed on my friend, and it concluded that she died before the flames got to her. My healing process was nothing short of miraculous, despite the many broken bones. The attending physician was stupefied by my progress. My life behind the veil. Since that day, my view of life has completely changed. Before my accident, I could never have imagined how profoundly such an experience could change a life. I have no fear of death. I know it is simply a passage. My faith is no longer tied to organized religion but to a spiritual truth. There is a loving intelligence connecting us all. What happened to me completely transformed my perception of existence and the universe. During the event, I reached a state of complete consciousness and clarity, as if everything around me had lost its usual boundaries. Time no longer had any meaning, and everything seemed to happen all at once with absolute awareness. What I experienced was so intense that no human language could truly describe it. The sensations went far beyond anything we can feel with our physical senses. After this experience, my values and beliefs changed deeply. I have returned with a few paranormal talents. I discovered abilities I never had before, as if something within me had opened to a greater dimension. I've returned with gifts I didn't have before, like heightened intuition, moments of insight, and a deep ability to sense others' emotions, and relating to people has become more profound. One thing remains especially vivid in my memory: the contrast between the greatest beauty one could ever imagine, and on the other hand, the saddest vision when looking at humanity. The best part was feeling a pure, infinite love. The hardest part was seeing our collective weaknesses. Even though I have shared this experience with others, I know that no explanation can ever fully convey its depth, and I know that sharing my story has been met with wonder by some, and skepticism by others. What I've learned is that every thought, every act matters. Love is the only wealth we take with us, and every day I live with this mission, to share a little of that light and love here and now. Thank you for listening to this near-death experience. This testimony is a reminder that every act matters, and love is the only wealth we carry with us. If this story moved you, please like the video, share it with others, and subscribe to discover more stories that shine a light on what lies beyond the veil. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. See you soon.